you're getting into the SCP universe.
Man, do I love a good SCP tale, especially about the end of the world. Most of the time, they hit home. You get to see a lot of references. This was pulled as a quote from the SCP-5000 reaction that I did from a comment saying, I have no idea what I'm getting into. So, we're gonna get into it today. The Exploring series, guys, let's do it.
Document recovered from the Marianas Trench.
Okay.
The SCP Foundation, with all of their vast resources, knowledge, and capabilities, really has only one goal.
To contain
maintain normality.
SCPs. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well,
every monster
that
that is contained, every phenomena that is covered up, and every incident that is wiped away is done so that everyday humans can continue their everyday lives.
Secure, contain, protect.
By and large, this goal is successful,
right.
And life goes on.
Except now.
We've looked at some examples where the public gets a proper eyeful of the other side of the veil, such as the broken masquerade cannon.
I'm not familiar with that.
The tale I'll be reading today, the document recovered from the Marianas Trench, details a scenario in which things go very wrong for the world.
Okay.
And the Foundation races to return things to normal.
Got you.
It's not an especially long tale, and it actually doesn't reference any existing SCPs.
Okay, that's cool.
But the implications are especially scintillating.
Right. If the Exploring series has covered it, it's going to be good.
I need to write this down, because I forget things sometimes.
Oh,
and I think what I heard today was important. Not to me. The time for me or almost anyone else alive on Earth today to make a difference has passed. But someone, somewhere, might be able to make something of this.
Oh, man.
Or at least find it helpful.
I got the
or
chills.
Something.
When he starts stories like this,
once I'm done, I'm going to seal it up in a pipe, coat it in wax, and chuck it into the ravine. Maybe someday someone will read this and try to put things together.
He's going to chunk it.
If they're allowed to. I'd love to start at the beginning, but I'm honestly not sure when the world started to end.
Tell us what you first remember.
Could have been years and years before the final bits, or it could have been all at once. Everything was so grim, what with warmer air, cooler seas, too little gas, and too many people.
Right.
Things could have been unraveling for ages before things bubbled up to the public eye. What I and others remember most was when the Disney magic sank.
Like that.
It was then, I think, that most people started to think that things might be worse than they seemed. The Disney Magic was a big cruise ship. One of those liner jobs that tools around islands and stuff.
Probably a great vacation.
One day, the news was all screaming about how it suddenly just went down when it was trying to put into port. The weird thing about it was how there was no video of it for a long time. Some still pictures of it floating fine, but none of it actually going down.
It was suppressed.
Then, somehow, a tape showed up, and the news started playing it.
Uh-oh.
I have to imagine they didn't review it first.
All right.
The ship was puffing along, strong and fast, little boats bobbing around it, looking like every vacation lover's dream, when suddenly it stopped. I mean, stopped.
Like
just a dead halt
in the water?
It had just slammed into a mountain.
Can you imagine?
You could see people go lurching forward all over the deck. A bunch of junk fall off the side.
Like it hit the brakes.
A real mess. It's all still for a few seconds. Then suddenly there's this foaming behind the ship. Most people assumed it was the engine trying to fire up
something
again.
Coming up. The Kraken, maybe.
The arm came up.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure if it actually was an arm
or a tentacle?
But it was some kind of limb. And it must have been 100 feet long at least.
Oh, my God.
It reached up along the side of the boat and just ripped it open.
Can you imagine?
I mean, unzipped it like a coat.
Right.
And you could see all the people inside screaming and running.
A cruise ship.
It was awful.
Massive.
Then you saw something lurch up. A big, spiny shape pushing against that gap, shoving in.
The creature, whatever it was.
Then there was an explosion on its back, and the camera whipped up to show a couple of jets whizzing by.
Oh, is the Foundation attacking it, or the Air Force?
I remember just sitting there, stunned, looking at the TV, barely noticing the president coming on to declare a state of emergency.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 or 3 days later when the TV went under full government control, but it may have been a week.
Regulated.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's crazy when you see stuff like that in the
later,
news.
But soon all you could hear, read, or see was, "Remain calm. Everything is under control."
Yeah, trying to stifle the panic.
The oddest thing was that life really didn't change much for a while.
It's surreal, man.
Bills still came, still had to work, go to school, all that.
Normal stuff.
Just
right?
a lot more scared faces and a lot more weird
Well,
talk.
if you saw something like that,
Pretty soon we were getting told that whole towns were being evacuated, that there was a plague or a riot,
everything
or a
you ever
terrorist
knew
bomb,
is now in disbelief.
or some other nightmare.
Like monsters,
My brother down
really?
south said that they got moved because of a huge wildfire. The weird thing was, he said that the fire moved oddly.
Are they just making
seemed to
excuses,
shoot right for
or
gas
is it
or
anomalies?
brush, and didn't travel evenly. That after a while, he swore he saw what looked like a 20-foot-tall man of fire walking and eating
It is
everything.
anomalies. It was a
The
huge
call got dropped
containment
right after he
breach, I
said
bet.
that. I haven't talked to him since.
Like an in-the-world K-class
So things
scenario.
got worse, little by little. People kept being moved, and there was no real way to communicate with each other anymore that was really reliable, so it was hard to say just how bad things were. Still, word of mouth was still going strong, and
Or
it was
XK
creepy.
class. Forgot what
Crazy
they call
shit,
it.
really.
Right.
Stuff about zombies in the north, killing
What?
frenzies in the east, a place near the ocean where the ground was alive and eating people.
Oh my
A cult
god.
screaming about the second coming. and
Yeah, the
killing
cults,
people
the
to
Church of
buy
the
off
Fifth.
God. I started pulling more and more away from people just to get some ignorant peace of mind.
Oh, you have to sometimes.
Looking back, that probably
You just
saved my
gotta turn
life.
off Twitter, man. Facebook.
Finally, one day, I woke up and there was blood on my window.
Oh,
It was
man.
outside, and I could hear some insane shit going down outside.
Oh my gosh.
Screaming, clanking, gunshots, and a smell like burning wires.
So now it made
I
it to
hid.
your hometown.
I'm not ashamed to admit it. I left my fellow man
I
to
don't
rot
blame you, dude.
and hid inside for almost a full week,
You hear
long
gunshots
after
outside?
the noise stopped.
Lay low.
After the 5th day, the electricity and gas gave
Unless
out,
you trained.
along with the running water.
Oh, damn.
When I finally got hard up
So
for
it's bad
supplies, I
outside.
poked my nose out and saw that the whole west side of the world was gone. Now, I don't know for sure if it actually is gone, but
Right.
there is a cliff that starts 30 feet to the west of my house,
Uh-huh.
and I cannot see the bottom of it. I also can't see the other side of this ravine, so for all intents and purposes, that part of the world is gone for me.
Just
The suburb I
like-
was in looked like a war zone. Blood and broken stuff everywhere. Houses carved up. No bodies, though, which I still think was weird.
Yeah.
I scrounged up some food and stuff from some of the houses, then went back home.
Getting supplies.
I've been doing that for a while now.
It's like DayZ, man.
I'm not sure how long, really. Might have been years and years, or just a few months.
Look at all
it's
the.
hard to say.
This picture's awesome. The
Sometimes
alien
the sun
stuff,
just
or
sticks
zombie.
in one spot for what feels like days. Other times these clouds roll in and you can't see 2 feet.
Wow.
There's things around, too.
Like
I run at the
zombies?
first noise, but I think they're
Just
about man-sized,
Oh.
and they seem to like metal. Other little things scramble around in the rubble sometimes,
Maybe
so I try and keep
AI.
clear. One time, a thing that looked like a pill bug the size of a cat crawled out, looked at me, and screamed, "Stop!" in perfect English.
It's
I hid inside for
AI
days.
or alien.
There are also these big blimp things that float around sometimes.
Okay.
They have little bug legs on their undersides, and they look kind of like maggots, but with eyes all over. They eat everything when they land, but
They
most of the time
eat
they
it.
stay high up. One of these had just passed when I found the hurt guy. He was all ripped up.
Oh,
and
he
looked
found
like
a
one of those
survivor.
SWAT team guys you see on TV sometimes.
An agent, maybe.
But his combat suit thing was all ripped to hell.
Maybe an MTF.
I dragged him back home, and then we talked. He said that he had been hunting the blimp thing, but had gotten attacked.
Yeah, he's an
He
MTF
wouldn't say
agent,
by
maybe.
what, but he looked like he was on his last legs.
Or just a Foundation agent.
I fed him some canned beans and some water, and
There
he
you
seemed
go.
to come around a little. Asked
Good
me who
looking
I
out,
was,
man.
if I was all right, and all that.
Right.
He seemed kind of shocked when I said he was the first person I'd seen since the rest of the world vanished.
He was laying low,
He told
bruh.
me it wasn't gone, just relocated, but wouldn't say what that meant.
Oh, the west part of the world
I helped
got
heal him up
relocated,
and kept
he said?
asking who he was, but he wouldn't say. Finally, he said, screw it, that his orders were probably no good anymore anyway, and told me. He said he worked for a foundation or something.
Okay.
And that they were like
Yeah.
a combination jail and research center.
That's a good way to
He
sum
said
it
that
up.
he was one of the agents who went around trying to find strange stuff and keep it from hurting people.
Yeah. So he might have
I
been
said
MTF.
he was doing a hell of a job so far, and he laughed pretty hard. He said something
Good
had
work, dude.
happened, and and that a bunch of these things had gotten loose at the same time.
A big
and
old
caused
containment
this
breach.
Foundation place to lose control.
Yep.
He said it became a GH0 dead greenhouse scenario.
Which is...
I asked him what that meant, and he looked at me for a while before going on. He said that's what they call a situation where everybody on Earth dies, but the Earth itself is still okay and can support life.
Oh.
I asked, what did that matter if everybody's dead?
Because they can make it again.
Strangely. I asked him if anyone else on Earth was still alive, and he said yes, but carefully spread out and contained.
Ah, okay. So
after that, I just sort of sat
people,
and digested things for a bit.
Gonna protect
and the man started stretching and checking his cuts.
Like the sights.
He was starting to pull his boots on when I asked what happens now.
Yeah.
He said that they have to reboot things.
Reboot.
Said they have the technology to recreate almost anything.
It's true.
And that making people is actually pretty easy. Said that they would clean out and contain things, rebuild the broken cities, and repopulate them. It would take a long, long time, but he said they would eventually get things back to the way they were before. Even said they could recreate memories and stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
They
have a lot of mimetic agents.
Watched him as he just kept going along, getting dressed like this was all no big deal.
Just another day at the Foundation,
I told him he
baby.
was nuts. That there was no way people could just forget that this could all just be swept away.
With amnestics, they could.
He stopped, looked at me, smiled, and then said, "Why not? It's been done before."
Right.
I don't know if that man was crazy or not, but I think he was sane.
Yeah.
As he was leaving, he said something about putting my house underwater. Please, don't let them brush me away. Don't let them hide us. Try and find more. I know there's got to be more people who try to leave something behind. Don't let the world die in vain. Remember us.
Is it just me, or is it's so chilling to hear stuff like that? A lot of the references that they make kind of go into some of the crazy stuff that we see on TV nowadays. Not krakens coming out of the water and unzipping boats like that, but things that are just like when the world just seems so much in disarray. You got to remember sometimes, guys, that it could always be worse. you gotta be at peace with what you can control, and just be spiritual about what you can. You know, however you do that, through meditation or spirituality or whatever, you just gotta get right with yourself, man, because you never know. You know, just be close with your family and your friends and your loved ones, and love life and live it like you won't be here tomorrow. You know. At any rate, guys, this is so good, man. I love when stories like this make me think, man. Look, SCP, the Exploring series, guys. Make sure to check him out, as well as a couple other reaction videos that I think you'll love. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off. We'll see you next time.